Good afternoon. It is February the 24th, I believe, and I am about to water my figs in my isolation room. This is going to be introduced as part of my Figbusters series that I'm going to be introducing in another video soon, because I plan on doing a series of videos, which I would like you to stay tuned to, where I am going to discuss my points of view about certain things that I've seen on the internet and in other places that maybe I don't agree with or have a different point of view about, or that perhaps there's a lot of controversy that still exists and it needs to be sorted out. And so I am going to introduce Figbusters, and I'm going to talk about these things. It's going to be about so many things about the subject of growing figs, I should say. This is one of them because many people don't know exactly how much to water their figs in the wintertime. Now, this is an isolation room that our son, built for me. And I do have a video about this room. It's very interesting. It's constructed in the corner of a basement in a building that I own. It's insulated very, very well. And it's isolated completely from the heater in the basement of this building. And because of that, because it's an isolation room, even the ceiling is all insulated. The walls, the cold walls, the window, the floor, the cement floor, they allow cold air to seep into the room. And because the room is isolated away from the heater, it gets cold in here. It works beautifully. I've had it for several years, and I've never lost a branch or a fig tree in here. I've got other fig trees in my root cellar, which I call my fig cellar, which I had built in my yard, which I've also featured in some of my videos, if you're interested. And the little plants, some of the smaller plants that I have growing are in there right now. I had plenty of room here for them. You can see on the shelf, on the cinder block shelf and concrete, but I've been cutting down on my plants, and I've got videos about that too. And I've been planting a lot of plants in the ground. And I've been weeding out in my zone 7A in the Northeast. I've been weeding out the varieties that I just don't feel are worthwhile to grow in this zone. And that's another subject that I want to talk about again too. There's so much. You know, I've got 130, 40, 50 videos that I have put together for you and for a historical accounting of my experiences in figs also. And therefore, they were for public dissemination, and that's exactly what I did, and for the purpose of sharing information that I've accrued over a long period of time, many, many, many years in my life. And I want to share that information, in the culmination of which I may actually, at some point, not now, because I've been asked so much, I may, for a limited time period in the future, probably not this year, maybe next year, maybe never, maybe 2 years from now, I don't know. I will probably put some of my varieties, some of my family heirloom varieties, and some of the other varieties that I've had enormous success. I've been very, very fortunate to acquire really great strains of certain varieties that are very productive and very healthy. I don't have any fig mosaic virus. I don't have any diseases at all. No bugs, no nothing. And part of that is because of the way I feed my figs and the fertilizer I use and the techniques that I use. I believe that to be true. And you can look at my videos and I talk about that subject over and over again, but I'm going to talk about it more. But some of those are going to be eventually offered on maybe Figbit or something like that. And I'm going to take those proceeds and I'm going to donate those proceeds to charity or to people that I know that are in need of money, of help, assistance. But that will be because I want some of my varieties. It will make me feel good when I'm all finished sharing all the information I have. I still haven't done that, I don't think. It'll make me feel good to know that my varieties are out there into perpetuity and that people are appreciating them and getting fruit and picking fruit and enjoying the hobby of figs with some of the figs that I've been acquainted with for over a half a century. Okay? And I need to do that as the final part of my task, which I imposed upon myself, which was to disseminate the information to you. So this is going to be just a little introduction, I'm going to put this in the Figbusters series I'm letting you know about. And I'm going to be doing another one very, very soon. But this one is going to dispose of some of what I think is misinformation about how much to water your figs in the wintertime. And I think that one of the big mistakes that's being made from what I've been able to gather and observe is that they're not watered enough. Look, try to understand. If your fig is dormant in the wintertime in the backyard, does it rain? Are the roots in the ground? Is it wet? Does it snow? Does the snow melt? Of course. Why would anybody let their fig trees dry out if they've got them in a sheltered place in the wintertime? Why? What is the logic of that? Please, somebody tell me, what is the logic? I have been doing this for years and years. I'm telling you, a big mistake is not watering your trees enough. And even if they survive, they're not going to do as well. They're not going to produce as much. I see it all the time, okay? In videos, on the internet, on YouTube. Don't do it. Give your trees water. But here is the point that I want to make. Give them water, yes. Lift them up. I can't do it because I have my phone in my hand here, but this is dry. This has been 1 month, okay? I can tell. Let me move this water out of the way. I can tell that they need water. Now, is there a little bit of moisture? Yes, some of them. And so what I do is I lift them up. This one doesn't need any water. It's been a month. This one does. Every one, you need to lift them up. You need to feel. Some of them are more active. Did you know that all of the figs are active all through the winter? They are. And they even grow a little. It's the truth. They still are in developmental stages. And so they need to be provided with moisture. You can never let them dry out, whether it's winter or summer. That is a rule of thumb. Do not let the trees dry out. Don't do that. Never. Okay? So water them well, but water them over long periods of time. Allow at least 3 weeks, a month, 5 weeks to pass before you water them again. That's the whole key. If you don't want to kill them with root rot, then what you need to do is water them, but wait a long time, let them dry out, not completely dry out, but get to the point where you can tell they just have enough moisture where they now need to be watered again. But they didn't pass that point, that pivotal point, which is injurious to them where they dried out too much. Don't let them dry out too much. That's the key. Okay? And then water them. And don't worry don't put a cup or two on a big tree like this. Don't do that, please. Give them water. Water them well, like you would almost water them in the summertime. Okay? Give them a good watering, but not real often. That's the key. Just now and then. Every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or 5. Depending on the temperatures outside and depending on your isolation room or your garage or wherever it is that you're storing your trees. And give them a good watering. That's what I do. Now, it works for me, and I'm going to give them a lot more water. It works for me, and it should work for you just as well. All of these trees are going to get a good watering, and not just a cup or two. Okay, I'm going to use a lot of water. Use a bigger bucket here. This is what I use. I sometimes fill it up several times to do just these figs. I'm going to give these trees what they need, water. Nothing living lives without water. Nothing, including your figs in the wintertime. Don't be afraid, but don't water them often. Let them dry out slowly, and they'll be healthy, and they'll be fine. And remember what I said. The trees outside in the wintertime, aren't they in the ground? Can you control when it rains? Doesn't it rain often? Doesn't it snow? Isn't the ground wet? Of course it is. They don't die. They're not going to die because of that. Now, you don't want them in a low part of your yard. Always, always, always. This is going to be part of the Mythbusters too. Always plant your trees, my advice, on the highest parts of your property. Always keep them as high and as dry as you possibly can. And if you don't have a lot of high and dry ground, then guess what? Put some raised beds together and plant them in the raised beds. I don't particularly like putting fig trees in raised beds, but if they're large enough and you put them in the center of the raised bed, their roots won't be harmed in the wintertime. You're going to cover them with mulch anyway. It's the only time I ever use mulch on fig trees is in the wintertime. That's it. And and that's another Mythbuster we're going to talk about. I'm going to show you. The proof is in the pudding. I like to say the fig pudding. The proof is in the fig pudding. Look at the videos. Look at people's videos. Look, while they're talking about this or that or the other, look and see what their trees look like. Look and see what their production is. Do they have a few flimsy trees with flimsy branches and no real figs? And they're talking about having figs in the ground, which it's pretty obvious that maybe they don't have a lot of experience with. Okay? I mean, look for the experience. Look for the truth. Be a skeptic. Be skeptical of everything you hear. Me too. Anything I say. Be a skeptic. You figure it out. You have the intelligence. You can sort it out. Don't be beguiled. Don't be fooled. Look. Open your eyes and look and see what's going on around you. Everywhere around you. Okay? There's a lot of activity in the fig community. And there's a lot of videos out there that are misinformation. There's a lot of videos out there that are good information. And there's some swell people, some wonderful guys and girls that are making wonderful videos. But there's quite a bit of misinformation out there too. You have to be a skeptic. You have to be cynical. You have to sort out the truth. Look at what you're seeing. Look at it. Observe it objectively. And the proof is in the fig pudding. Just remember that. You won't hear that anywhere else, but you'll hear it here. The proof is in the fig pudding. Okay? And when you see the fig pudding, then you know that perhaps there are some truths that are being shared with you, some objective facts that you can rely upon and depend upon. And that's what you want to do. You have to do it. It's not just figs, it's anything in life. You've got to be the skeptic. You've got to be on guard. And you've got to look and open your eyes, and you've got to make your own decisions based on what you're observing. And don't be fooled. Okay? Use logic. Use a logical approach. And so this works for me. Now, someone might disagree. Fine. That's wonderful. I don't mind debate. I don't even mind total disagreement. It's okay. I'm only offering you my opinions. Others may offer you theirs. But somebody's right and somebody's wrong. Now, that's up to you to discern. You have to use those resources that you have to determine this is true and this is not true. Okay? And then there are varying degrees of true and false too. Okay? With contingencies attached. All right, so I'm going to water my figs. I'm not going to water them again. for probably 3 or 4 weeks. You know, a good month at this time of year, in the middle of February. I would imagine that they're going to stay wet for a good period of time, and that's good. In the fall, when you first do this, you have to water them more frequently because they're still semi-active. They haven't gone into full dormancy yet. Not really. And remember, they're always active to some degree or another. You need to remember that. In the middle of the winter, they require a little less water. You can tell by lifting them up. You can feel their weight. And you can tell when one's dry. You can tell when one is in need of water and when perhaps it isn't. And everyone is different. Trust me when I tell you. You've got to lift them up. Try to make it so that you have enough room to do that, so that you can get to them. Like I'm doing right now. And I'm feeling every one. And I'll do the same in my root cellar. But my root cellar is a different story because the root cellar maintains a humidity of between 97 and 99%. And so you don't really have to water there in the root cellar under the ground. Sometimes the whole entire winter, you don't have to water them. Now here where you have a heater and the air is drier, remember, even though it's an isolation room and it was built to be an isolation room, still, notwithstanding, it's not going to be as cold as outside or as cold as a root cellar. But it's chilly. It's chilly here. I mean, it goes well into the low 50s and sometimes into the 40s in here in the wintertime. Even though it may be 65 in the basement, it might be 45 in this room. And that's all you need. They won't come out of dormancy. As you can see, they're not coming out of dormancy. It's the middle of February and they're fully dormant. Okay? So there's so many variables that always need to be considered in everything that you do in life. And, of course, in growing figs, too. So I'm going to close right now. Thank you for visiting. I certainly am looking forward to the Figbusters series. I'm going to be, the next one's going to be a pretty interesting one. I'm going to make in a day or two, and I'm going to post it pretty soon. I might post this later. I might wait for that Figbuster video first, or maybe I'll just post this right away and then go to the next Figbuster series. There's probably going to be 6, maybe 8 altogether, and I think you're going to be very interested in the content because some of the experiments that I'm conducting, I don't think they have been done quite the way that I'm doing them, and there's some incredible circumstances that I want to share with you, which I will discuss on my next video. With that, I'm looking forward to the 2022 season. Good day.